It's 1 a.m., and your coffee went cold hours ago. The harsh, artificial glow of the screen lights up your face. You might be staring at your bank account, endlessly scrolling through a stock market app, or drafting that client email you absolutely have to answer first thing tomorrow morning. Your shoulders are completely tight, and there's a dull, familiar ache in your stomach. You are smart. You have read countless personal finance books, listened to the podcasts, and you work harder than almost anyone else you know. But why? Why does that suffocating feeling of being constantly chased by money never seem to go away? We often think that if we just learn a few more advanced investing tricks, master reading complex stock charts, or work ourselves to the bone for a 5% raise, we will finally be in control. But that is the biggest lie of our generation. This endless, grinding hustle is only pushing us deeper into exhaustion and severe workplace burnout. Deep down, we don't want more tasks to manage. We want relief. We don't want an endless financial to-do list. We desperately want to take back control of our time and our lives. Honestly, I have sat in the dark feeling that exact same paralyzing frustration. I tried tracking every single penny on massive, complex spreadsheets, trying to predict the market's next move, only to be left with severe anxiety and the crushing regret of missing out on weekends with my family. Until I realized something crucial. What stops us from reaching financial freedom isn't our IQ. It's not a lack of effort. It is the silent, self-sabotaging psychological traps running continuously in the background of our minds. According to the deep research in Morgan Housel's universally acclaimed book, The Psychology of Money, and backed by decades of historical market data, the money game was never just a math problem. It is a profound psychological battle. Today, we are not doing dry formulas or complex economic theories. We are dismantling the mental blind spots that quietly drain your energy and your wealth. Once we understand these hidden rules, you will see that building wealth can actually be incredibly elegant, surprisingly simple, and it might even be the exact leverage you need to finally clock out right at 5 p.m. The first fatal mistake we make is believing we are perfectly rational beings. Why do two highly educated people look at the exact same stock? One bets their life savings buying it, while the other panic sells everything. They both think they're acting on pure, unadulterated logic. But the truth is, they are just wearing different historical lenses. Someone who lost their home and their savings in the 2008 financial crash sees a totally different world than a 20-something who got rich off a lucky crypto bet in 2017. Our personal experience with money makes up maybe 0.0000001% of what has actually happened in the world, yet we subconsciously treat our tiny sliver of experience as 100% of the absolute truth. We also desperately want to control everything, believing that our effort directly and neatly equals our reward. But as Morgan Housel reminds us, nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. Behind every story of massive success or devastating failure are two incredibly powerful forces we cannot control: luck and risk. Take Bill Gates. Yes, he is undeniably brilliant, calculated, and disciplined, but we conveniently forget that in the early 1970s, he was lucky enough to attend one of the only high schools in the entire world with a computer. That 1-in-a-million stroke of luck gave him an edge over millions of other smart kids. Compare that to his equally brilliant, computer-obsessed best friend, Kent Evans, who died in a tragic mountaineering accident before graduation. Same 1-in-a-million odds, but this time it was risk. Two top-tier minds, radically different outcomes. This means you can do everything perfectly right and still lose, or make a colossal mistake and still win. Understanding this finally lets us drop that exhausting anxiety of having to be perfect. Don't blindly idolize extreme success stories. You cannot copy their luck, and you absolutely cannot afford their risk. Instead of looking for the next get-rich-quick miracle, we need to build a reasonable financial system that keeps us surviving even when our luck inevitably runs out. Another massive trap is believing the story instead of the reality. Why do we fall for financial bubbles? Because when a story feels good enough, we desperately want it to be true. Take the crypto boom of 2021. It felt like everyone was getting rich. Thousands of new tokens launched with no real utility, no roadmap, just a catchy name and a story.
Don't miss out, this is the next Bitcoin. People didn't buy the math, they bought the dreams sold by influencers with flashy lifestyles. By 2022, billions vanished quietly overnight. In money, as in life, the most dangerous stories aren't outright lies. They are comforting half-truths we never think to question. We also plan like machines, completely forgetting that we are humans. You can build the most beautifully optimized data-backed spreadsheet for your investments, but spreadsheets do not panic during a 30% market downturn. They don't lose sleep. You do. If your financial plan doesn't leave room for human error, fear, and doubt, it won't survive real life. Aiming to be mostly reasonable works infinitely better than trying to be coldly rational. Reasonable is sustainable, and sustainability is what actually builds wealth over decades. And why do people who already have more than enough risk everything just for a little bit more? Look at FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. At the age of 29, he was worth $20 billion. The media called him the next Warren Buffett. Politicians praised him. He had enough money for 100 lifetimes, but he didn't stop. He quietly mixed client funds not to survive, but to chase more power, more status, more admiration. Eventually, the empire collapsed overnight. This is the deadly curse of never enough. In our modern, hyper-connected world, this trap is everywhere. You feel great about your salary until you find out what your coworker makes. You buy a nice car but feel inadequate at the stoplight next to a sleeker sports car. You are proud of your quiet, comfortable life until you open social media and look at the filtered, luxurious vacations of your peers and suddenly feel like you are falling behind. Philosopher Bertrand Russell said it best: "It is impossible to escape envy by means of success. It is a game with absolutely no ceiling. The higher you climb, the harder you fall." If your real goal is freedom and peace of mind, the only way to win is to refuse to keep climbing. Define your own enough and guard it with your life. We think buying luxury cars and watches will make people admire us. This is the famous man-in-the-car paradox. When a screaming red Ferrari speeds by, you never think, wow, that driver is so successful and smart. You think, if I were in that driver's seat, people would think I was cool. See? Nobody actually cares about what you have. They only care about themselves. We spend our precious life savings trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention to us. How incredibly exhausting is that? Morgan Housel hits the nail on the head. Wealth is what you don't see. True wealth isn't the expensive car you bought. It is the car you chose not to buy. It is not the fancy dinner you posted on Instagram. It is the money you quietly invested that buys you options for the future. Looking rich is the fastest way to go broke. Being truly wealthy means learning how not to spend. When you no longer need to buy things to prove your worth to strangers, you will finally experience the massive physical relief of dropping that heavy burden. We also fall for fear disguised as wisdom. Tell someone the market will crash and they will glue their eyes to the screen. Tell them it will rise slowly over the next 20 years and they will yawn and look away. Pessimism sounds like someone trying to help you. Optimism sounds like a naive sales pitch. A 40% market crash makes front-page headlines instantly. 140% gain over 6 years is barely noticed because progress happens slowly and quietly, while setbacks happen fast and loud. Real optimism isn't blind faith. It's expecting setbacks and downturns, but still believing in the long-term compounding human progress. If you listen to every doomsday headline, you will panic and sell your future away. A lot of the time, managing money feels exhausting because our timeline is fundamentally broken. We treat normal market volatility as a strict punishment. Imagine riding a massive roller coaster and demanding a refund when it drops. You wouldn't, because the drop is the price of admission. In investing, market dips are the fee, not a fine. Take Netflix, for example. Between 2002 and 2018, the stock returned more than 35,000%, but it spent 94% of that time trading below its previous all-time high. To win that massive gain, you had to live through constant daily discomfort. But we panic sell to avoid that short-term pain, paying a massive long-term cost. You do not need to stay up until 3 a.m. checking stock charts. Look at Warren Buffett. His net worth is around $160 billion, but did you know over $156 billion of that came after his 65th birthday? Let that sink in. He didn't become one of the richest men in history by predicting the market daily or chasing massive short-term gains. He did it by starting early, staying in the game, and letting compounding, the most powerful force in finance, do all the heavy lifting for 80 years. Good investing isn't about brilliance, it's about survival. That's exactly why the best investors play defense. They leave a wide margin of safety so they're not pushed to the edge by a single emergency. Why is that corporate lawyer making $250,000 a year still living paycheck to paycheck, one disaster away from ruin? Because their ego and lifestyle inflated right alongside their salary. Housel brilliantly notes, savings is the gap between your ego and your income. You don't need a specific goal like a house or a car to save. You can save just to buy options. You save to be able to gracefully say no to an abusive boss.
That is exactly why the best investors play defense. They leave a wide margin of safety so they aren't pushed to the edge by a single emergency. Why is that corporate lawyer making $250,000 a year still living paycheck to paycheck, one disaster away from ruin? Because their ego and lifestyle inflated right alongside their salary. Housel brilliantly notes, savings is the gap between your ego and your income. You don't need a specific goal like a house or a car to save. You can save just to buy options. You save to be able to gracefully say no to an abusive boss. You save to calmly buy assets when the market crashes and everyone else is panicking. Goalless saving buys the most precious asset in your life, autonomy over your time. Back in 1981, social scientist Angus Campbell ran a massive study on happiness in America. His conclusion? Having a strong sense of control over one's life is a more dependable predictor of well-being than any objective condition of wealth. The best dividend money pays isn't a luxury vacation, it's the ability to wake up every single morning and say, today I can do whatever I want with whoever I want for as long as I want. And we have to remember, the future us will be radically different from the current us. Psychologists call this the end of history illusion. You might love being single and hustling 80 hours a week right now, but in 10 years, you might desperately want a quiet family life in the country. If you lock yourself into an extreme financial commitment today, you trap your future self. Stay moderate. Give your future self the right to change their mind without facing financial ruin. Most importantly, know what game you are playing. Do not let a crypto day trader on TikTok mess up your steady, long-term retirement strategy. Their game relies on momentum and timing. Yours relies on patience and endurance. If you mix up the rules, you will pay the price. Your peace of mind is worth infinitely more than their stressful, fleeting, quick profits. Shifting these mindsets is just the first step in taking back total control of our lives. When we let go of the need for perfect control, when we let time do the heavy lifting, and when we fundamentally refuse to let other people define our enough, we are already walking the true path to financial freedom. We stop working for money, and we start designing a life of relief and autonomy. But this is only one piece of a massive, evolving puzzle. The rules of the working world are being ruthlessly rewritten as we speak by an even bigger force. Now that you understand these psychological traps, you have to face the biggest technological variable of our era. In episode 2 of our 4-part Financial Freedom Blueprint series, we are uncovering a much deeper, darker secret. How is AI quietly changing the underlying logic of how money flows in the modern economy? How can you use AI as the ultimate leverage to handle the daily grind so you can actually clock out on time, reduce your anxiety, and double your income without doubling your hours? This is where the psychology of money meets the technology of the future. For the next episode, I want to hear from you. Do you want to see an AI investment analysis breakdown or real AI side hustle case studies for regular people? Cast your vote in our community tab right now. I will build next week's video based entirely on the votes from our ReadSmart community because your choices dictate what we explore. We are co-creating this channel together.
I spent an entire week distilling these 18 psychological traps and actionable stress-reducing steps from the psychology of money into a high-density, beautifully organized mind map PDF. I'm not just dropping a free link in the description, because I only want to hand this over to those who are truly serious about changing their lives and taking action. If you are ready to jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and finally find some relief, type the exact phrase, "I want freedom," in the comments below to show your commitment. I will personally send you this blueprint to save you years of trial, error, and financial heartbreak. Subscribe right now to witness how we navigate the fall of the old corporate grind in Part 2. Join our team in this battle to upgrade our minds. I'll see you next week. Let's watch the old era crumble and get wealthy in the future together.